Actually, now that you say that, I'm gonna.
Well, here we go. Oh, okay. This is here you go. Not saving around your
What about the flowers?
She's gonna leave them into and we're oh, and like in the yeah.
No, what's that? Yes. Right next to the I literally looked around and I was sitting there watching. There was a guy there was a guy like your age. Turned around and watched us. So we figured it out. Yeah. Right, you gotta turn around.
Well, this one is Where's Susan? We're actually a little ahead of time because I think I was set to go live at 11:30. It's good to go. Let's see how let's wait a few minutes to see how many people we get online.
So far.
Or yeah, give me my official count. like the YouTube page, but there's a separate congregational meeting tab.
Kurt's coming in.
Okay, thanks. He's actually.
Is anybody having phone problems?
Well, Sue came out and Lori said something wrong with something. Larry is walking right out of where she was from.
Where are we?
5 online. I'm playing around 41 in here and 5 online.
Tim's counting again.
41.
What do we have, Tim?
41.
41.
And then
You know anyone who would be willing to be online? Because we are at number 41.
41 plus how many online?
No, everybody's. You need 50 for the quorum.
I have 8 members online.
8. And everybody's logging like who's with them.
So far. Do you have anyone still back here?
We can make this happen, we can make it happen. The whole, we have.
10 members online.
Who did? Well, you said we have 10 online, so I don't know who the 10 are.
Oh, okay, I'll just call her.
Yeah.
While we're waiting, I just want to give a shout out to Celestine because went back to check on the snacks, and came back and told me there was nothing set up. So she gets all the credit for coffee hour. But it was, I think we were sending us snacks after the meeting. Yeah. But, they're ready to go. Oh, they're ready to go, yeah.
Count one more for Pat.
43 plus the 10.
Can you speak into the mic just to let people know that we're waiting?
For those of you that are on stream, we're waiting until we have a quorum. We don't quite have a quorum yet. Okay, we do have a quorum. So the meeting is called to order at 11:26 a.m. for the record. And Pastor Ginny will open us up with a prayer. Or you want to use this mic? You can just.
That's working.
Yeah. Hold still. She got here.
The Lord be with you. Gracious God, bless our deliberations that all we do may give you glory in so many kinds of ways. And strengthen us to be wise followers of you for Christ's sake. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Jenny. Okay, so like I said, the agenda is solely for the purpose of us reviewing the options for New Hope move into solar energy or remain under our current utility plan that we have. So I will turn this meeting over to Charlie Bailey.
Thank you. Good morning, and thank you very much for being here. So everyone knows I have Jessica Pitts on the line, and we're trying to kind of toggle the technology. She's with Flywheel Renewables, and so if there's any questions that I can't answer, she's available and can hopefully fill in the blanks. So I think everyone knows why we're here, and we'll get right to that. I did want to just give you a little bit of background of how we got here, and should I lean in? Is that good? And a couple of the highlights of the decisions we have before us. So I've participated in the Synod's Creation Care Ministry for about the last 10 years. We meet monthly, and among other things, we've planted about 800 trees on congregation campuses around the Synod, been involved in a number of environmental projects. And that's where I met some representatives from Interfaith Power and Light. They're a nonprofit who advocates for green energy for churches and works to connect churches and their members with green energy options. So about, 6 or 7 years ago, we looked at this whole idea of solar for New Hope, and through IPL, got connected with a couple of providers. They did both the ownership proposal and the lease proposal, where they put the panels up, they own them, and they sell us energy for a discount. At the time, none of the providers thought that the lease option worked. It wasn't beneficial enough to them, and they weren't interested. The ownership option, the challenge there is the initial outlay of money, which was significant at the time. It was like $150,000, and the kind of the break-even payback was like 15 or 17 years out, which just seemed like a long time to wait till you started benefiting from it. So we passed at that time. So then just recently, we were introduced to Flywheel through IPL. And when I say just recently, this is probably about a year ago. And we had thought, okay, the ownership option doesn't make any sense because too big an outlay of money, too long a wait period. So we pursued the lease, or it's also referred to, you'll see on a slide, the Power Purchase Agreement, or PPA. So that's what was presented at the annual meeting last November, which I wasn't able to be at. And somebody asked the question, well, have you looked at ownership? And so after the meeting, we went back to Jessica and Flywheel and said, what about the ownership option? We know there's this big outlay of money up front, long payback. And to our surprise, it turns out there are a number of grants and tax credits that even though we don't pay taxes, we are eligible for. So Flywheel and Jessica helped us put together a grant application to the Maryland Energy Administration, and we were recently informed that we received that grant. That's in the amount of $115,000 towards the total cost of installation, which is about $215,000. And as it turns out, we're also eligible for a tax credit through the Inflation Reduction Act that was established in 2022, where we can get what's called a direct pay tax credit. And that will cover about another $85,000 worth of the cost. Now, with the MEA grant, we already have that money. We're waiting for the paperwork on that. For the tax credit, we have to, after the system is operational, we can submit to get the tax credit back, which means we have to front the money for that and then recoup it. I just found out this week that we also got a $5,000 grant from the Synod's Creation Care Green Energy program. They have a pot of money that they've been offering to churches for green energy upgrades like windows and energy efficient appliances and things like that, and they approved $5,000 for us. So assuming we would get the tax credit back, we would pay about a total of $8,000 for a $215,000 system. So with that, I just want to run through a couple of slides. So as Gail said, the options are, so we're already in the solar business to a certain degree, and you'll see I've broken my rule of too many words on a slide as we go through this. So we are subscribers to Neighborhood Sun. They have a solar farm up in Marriottsville, and we get a 10% discount on about 90% of our electricity usage. So that comes to about $1,000 a year. So we can continue with that program, and nothing would change. You know. The other options are to put panels on the roof. Here's a graphic that shows you where those would go. And the two alternatives are Flywheel owns the panels and sells us electricity for a slightly greater discount than Neighborhood Sun. They would give us 15% discount on all of our electricity instead of 10% on 90%, if that makes sense. Or we own the panels and we get all the electricity for free, and if we overproduce, we can sell that back. So, so it's the same system either way. So both of these options, nothing changes. Same layout on the roof, same infrastructure, whole 9 yards. It's just who owns the system and who has the energy. Okay, I mentioned that. Just quickly, the pros and cons. All right, I think we already did that one. Keep in mind with this, we get 10% with our current Neighborhood Sun program. We get 10% off whatever BG&E's current rate is. So as those rates increase, we get 10% off whatever that future increased rate is, and their increases have been over 4% for the last 10 years. So just to give you an idea. Jump to the next one. So with the PPA, we don't lay out any money. We get the benefit right away. It's the 15% of the total amount. We don't have any ownership responsibilities. Flywheel owns and maintains the system, and we just buy the electricity. And as part of that agreement, they lock in a 2% escalation rate over the course of the 25-year period that we would commit to. Next one. Cons of CCP, PPA. Okay, if we needed to access our roof or do any kind of maintenance to it, we have to pay for the removal and replacement, but that's true in both scenarios, whether we're leasing or we're owning. And then just lower potential savings over the life of the agreement. Next one. So the pros of ownership are, like I said, we get all the energy for free. So there's a cost savings of estimated, and these numbers are estimates. So things are going to vary some based on weather, based on what happens with utility rates, some of those kinds of things. But this gives you an order of magnitude idea. So with the ownership model, we'd save $356,000 over the life of the contract. With the PPA approach, we'd save $158,000, and if we continue with our current community solar, about $45,000. So substantial savings in both scenarios. Next. Also, we've looked at the warranties. The panels are warranted for 30 years. The roof hardware is warranted for 25 years. There's a thing called the Solar Renewable Energy Certificates. They're certificates or credits that you can buy and sell. And so companies that are trying to meet a certain kind of environmental standard can buy the certificates from someone like us. So it's not the energy, it's just the credit for having solar. And so that would be about $2,000 or $3,000 extra dollars of income each year. But we would have to manage doing that sale. So cons of ownership, we have to lay out the money in advance, about $98,000, and receive that back. We have about $350,000 of unrestricted reserves, so we have the funds to be able to do that. I can't say exactly how long it would take to get back, but it's after the system is operational, we can submit for that credit. So a year, 18 months, something like that, that we'd lay the money out and then get it back. We would contract for the operation of maintenance services. Under this proposal, we would do that through Flywheel. It's nominal, it's $3,000 a year plus or minus, factored into that $256,000 savings amount. So again, if we have to take the, ownership comes with ownership, right? Like if you buy a car versus you rent one. So if something goes wrong that's not warranty related, we're on the hook for that. You know, a tree falls on it, which seems unlikely. The squirrels are probably a bigger issue around here than we would have to pay for that. But keep in mind, we have a pretty decent buffer of additional savings that are built in there to deal with those things. Let's see what's next. Okay, I mentioned the removal and replacement. We checked with our property insurer, and they have confirmed that it's $458,000 per year we would add to our property insurance. Oh, okay. So this number is the right number. $458. So yeah, there you go. Follow the cursor. Is there anything else? Next slide. Oh, okay, so here's the one, not hiccup, but there's a 10% of the 40% that we can get back as a tax credit through the federal program. 10% of that is a bonus based on domestic content, the amount of domestic content in the system. So currently that's set up, I think this is right, Jessica can correct me, it'd be 40% domestic content. Now 40% is this. Anyway, I don't know that number. As of July 3rd of this year, that's going to be revisited, and there's the likelihood that they're going to raise the domestic content requirement. So if we initiate the project before July 3rd, which is kind of a short timeline here, we can lock in that extra 10% credit, and the 10% represents, you know, about $21,000 of that $215,000. So if we initiated the contract by making a down payment with Flywheel for 5% of the amount of it, which is $10,800, we guarantee that bonus. So if we aren't able to make that deadline, if we can get the system installed and up and running by December of 2027, that's next year, we still are eligible for the 10% credit. So there's some, Flywheel thinks it's, you know, very likely that we would be able to do that, but they can't guarantee it based on the process they have to go through and timelines and what have you. So that's just a fact. Chip?
Is that 21,000?
Ask him to come to the mic.
Oh.
On stream and aren't going to be able to hear it.
Is that the last slide, Charles?
Is that 21,000 part of the 85,000 direct pay, or in addition to?
It's on.
You're too tall.
Is that 21,000 part of the 85,000 direct pay tax thing, or is it in addition to that?
Well, it's part of the $215,000 cost of the whole system. So we would still get the $115,000 of the MEA grant back, and we would still be eligible to get the $85,000 of the tax credit back. So I don't know if...
So it reduces the total 215,000 outlay by 21,000?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So it's basically we can get 40% of a tax credit back versus 30%. And I think we just mentioned that. Is that it?
You've got this eye chart.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I think this is self-explanatory. So so these are just the calculations that Flywheel put together for us, and the circled. If you got the email that went out Friday, I think it has these on there. The circled numbers at the bottom are just those total savings amounts of the three approaches. So I'm not going to say anything more about that. But they've factored in all of all the potential costs and escalated those at the 4% for BG&E and 2% for, yeah, it was more, that was more if there was a specific question, but yeah, I think that's it. So I'm just going to quickly toggle my phone here and ask Jessica if she has anything that she wants to add to that. Were you able to hear all that, Jessica?
Yes, I did hear all that.
And do you have anything to add or anything I missed?
I think that sounds pretty good. Yeah, I'm open to questions, but I don't have anything to add to that.
Okay. Are there any additional questions? And then you, Jay.
My question is, if we decide to do the rental option, what happens to the grants that we've already been approved for?
So we would turn the MEA grant back in. And well, in the rental option, we don't have any cost. So we don't get the grant. We wouldn't get the Synod grant, and we wouldn't get the MEA grant.
Do we know what shape our roof is in? I hate
So-
to do all this and have to have all the panels removed in 5 years.
So Chris knows the answer to that question. That's a really good question.
The current roof is a 40-year certainty roof that was installed by S&K in 2016. So we're 10 years into a 40-year roof. We've got 29 or 30 years left that's going to support 25-year payments.
So, and at the end of 25 years, we then can do, we can keep the system, take it down. You can actually resell panels. Well, since Chris is standing there, let him go, and then David.
I do have one question, and it's got nothing to do with money. It's all got to do with labor resources. As he said, when you want it, you want it. Right now, we just write a check with BG.
Chris, talk to the mic.
I'm sorry. Right now, we just write a check to BG&E. When we own it, surely there's going to be a little more labor resource that's going to have to come out of the church to manage the system. Could you speak to that for just a minute, please?
So the contract says, or the sales agreement says that they will monitor the system remotely weekly, and they'll come out and do a physical inspection once a year. And then, was your question how much additional New Hope resource is necessary on top of what we're paying them for? Or, I apologize for not catching the whole thing.
My perception is that there will be more labor hours from New Hope members required to manage a system that we own. Even maybe we just have to make sure that the inspectors actually come out. So I just want to hear a little bit about the administrative structure that's going to be in place to manage this new system.
Okay. So not unlike, and Jessica, I'm going to ask you to respond to that if you were able to hear it in a moment. I mean, not unlike our HVAC systems that we don't do the physical maintenance on. We have contractors that do that. we would be paying Flywheel to provide operation and maintenance. Jessica, were you able to hear the question about how much additional manpower is going to be required by New Hope as part of the operation and maintenance? And could you describe what Flywheel's approach to maintenance and operations is?
Yes, and I'm also getting a little bit of a delay, so sorry if there's a gap between when you ask the question and when I answer. Yeah, so the intention for the operations and maintenance is to make it as maintenance or as labor free for you guys as possible. We currently operate close to 100 solar systems in the area, in the Maryland, DC area. We have long-term contracts with DC government, and we're about to install through a power purchase agreement 27 schools and recreation centers in the district. All of those systems we operate internally, so we don't, sub that out to a third party. And what that means is that on our team we have those capabilities. And so the goal of the ownership option is to bring you guys more benefits through the electricity, savings, but also, provide you with the relief from having to do those operations yourself. So we would operate your system like it is one of the ones we own in that regard. So there wouldn't be a whole lot for you guys to do other than we provide you with reports, and we talk about the operations of the system, and we could assist you with setting you up with selling the SRECs, and there's third parties that administer those for you. So I don't anticipate a significant amount of effort on your part. Certainly if there's interested members of the community that wanted to learn about the system and understand how it works, we'd be happy to provide that education. But the intent is that all of those professional services that are needed would fall to us to keep it running.
Does that answer your question enough, Chris, or?
Okay, can you hear me? We've had solar panels on our roof for 25 years. We've done no maintenance. They haven't required, knock on wood. We had to put little bands around to keep the squirrels from going under to live there. But other than that, we've had no maintenance expenses, so.
Do you own them?
Yes.
Same thing.
So this is for Chris. If we have a 40-year warranty on the roof, right? So if we put on solar panels, which will probably compromise. Is the warranty still good after we put the solar panels up? Because we may have compromised the roof by having put up solar panels.
So I asked that question of Flywheel, and they had said one of the first things they do is they will check with the contractor and the shingle manufacturer to ensure that there is compatibility and there aren't issues with the warranty.
That was addressed that was addressed in the email that went out. When we get started, they do a structural analysis, and they also talk to the people that put the roof on, and there is provision for an all-stop. So if it looks like we get part way, but not, we get ankle deep, but not knee deep, and it's a bad idea, we have to give up the money that we've spent. But there is provision for an all-stop. So knowing the fact that there's certainty shingles, and knowing the fact that it's a reputable, well-known installer in this area, I think that it is worth proceeding rather than putting additional front money up to have that we won't get back, that analysis done before we start. So the answer is to your question, probably, but it's worth proceeding. That's my assessment. Probably is still.
Are there any other questions?
I have a comment from online.
Okay.
Linda Hauser writes, we had solar panels for 15 years and never did any maintenance except to recover from squirrels. Thank you, Linda.
Yes, Jeff?
Just one point I thought of about the squirrels. What you do is if you put a mesh fence around the whole thing. Leaves don't tend to get inside it. Pine needles do. That's the only thing I need to point out. We've got a lot of pine trees around here, and the maintenance we might need is take those things off and clean them out. All right?
It sounds surmountable. Morning, Lori.
For the $85,000 tax credit, is there any chance that that will run out? I know that happens with cars and it happened with geothermal. So has that been looked into?
So it's currently federal law, and it's written into the IRS tax code. So like some of the green initiatives that the current administration has been, squashing with executive orders, my understanding is that this requires both houses of Congress to change the law. So that doesn't mean that it couldn't happen, but it's highly unlikely. And I'm going to ask Jessica to also weigh in on can that run out of money? But I think it's not like a grant that gets funded and could run out of money. It's like a child tax credit or any other tax credit. If you qualify for it, you get it. So, Jessica, do you want to address that?
Yes, Charlie, that's correct. It is a general tax credit in the tax code that doesn't have any caps or limits or anything like that. And it's considered a refund, a tax refund, just to be a little more specific. So this addresses the Inflation Reduction Act addressed the disparity between tax-exempt entities and for-tax and for-profit entities in terms of their ability to own solar. And so that's why this was changed and why it seems a little odd that a tax-exempt entity would get a tax refund. But that was to create a little more parity between those types of organizations from a solar ownership perspective.
So obviously, because we don't pay taxes, we don't get a tax refund. But my understanding is that term direct pay is you file an IRS form and they will refund the money anyway. Not a tax refund, but refund our $85,000.
Yeah. Yeah, just to clarify, I'm sorry if that's confusing, but it comes through the refund process.
Okay.
So you submit your tax return and you fill out the form, and then it's not like a separate where the government is like reviewing your application and deciding if you're awarded it or not. It comes through the process of getting a tax refund, which is kind of clever, and I think it streamlines it a lot. So there is an obligation for them to fulfill that under the current tax code.
So I will say a worst case scenario would be, let's say somehow it got eliminated and we were out that $85,000. That means our break-even point would be about 9 or 10 years out versus 15 or more. So at 10 years, we would start then benefiting from the energy. Charles, were you going to say something? You looked like you were getting up ahead of steam. Yep, Sharon?
I have a question about, on under ongoing costs for operating expenses, it has escalation of 3%. Is that per year for each of these items for 25 years? And how will that play out?
I believe so. Jessica, could you hear that?
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great question. That's just intended to reflect, the increased inflation over the course of the period. So it's not necessarily set in stone, but, it just is looking at apples to apples in terms of dollars over the years.
But it is intended as an annual increase.
Right, yes.
Yeah,
So
okay.
for example, like the inflation metrics that we use for, CPI and, stuff like that increase every year. So it's intended to kind of reflect that.
Okay, and it's netted out of the amount that we're showing as savings for New Hope.
Yes. So we wanted to show something that included all of those costs so that you can get a sense of what your savings would be after, you pay for the operations and you sell you have your property insurance, costs that are added to that bill. And so it just is looking at trying to provide a really transparent look at how much you would actually be getting out of the solar panels.
Okay. Charles?
I do have a question. I don't want to dash up and use the mic, but perhaps you could relay my question to Gail. Does the church council have a recommendation on this matter?
I was asked that question earlier, and unfortunately, we didn't have the answers laid out to us as we just got them on Friday, and the council had met the week before that. So the church council did not provide a recommendation per se, but if you want to know my personal thought,
I do.
I think we should purchase the solar panels.
Are we ready to vote?
Okay. There's been a call to vote, so that's what I said. We need a motion. Yeah. Well, we need a motion.
So let me
Okay.
maybe just say I'm not going to make a motion.
Okay,
but
right.
I think what we want, sorry. I think the goal is to, if we decide to move forward with the solar panels, that I'm not good at these motion type things. We approve moving forward with contracting with Flywheel to purchase the solar panels, with maybe a caveat in there that we got to get the MEA grant money first, and then I guess there's a separate question of, are we going to lay out this $10,000, whatever it was, $800, 5% by July 3rd to ensure the additional 10% bonus.
No, because I think it's two separate motions. The first motion is either to continue the status quo or proceed with solar. If we say yes to the solar, the second motion is purchase or lease.
And then if you purchase, do we commit that 5% in the near term here to lock in the $21,000 bonus?
They want to empower the council. We can't do that because the amount of money for the layout is more than the council can approve. It has to be a congregational decision. Pardon? What's the cost that would outlay July 3rd?
It was like $10,800. That much council could approve without congregational approval.
Okay.
But It seems to me the congregation should
You're here now.
decide that they want to move forward this way before
Exactly.
council spends the money.
Exactly. Okay, so Kim, do you want to make the motion? Make that first motion?
First motion either to proceed with solar or not.
Wait.
That's the first motion.
Is there a second? Okay. Further, did you have a question, Frank?
No, I was gonna try to move the motion.
Oh, okay. Well, Kim just made the motion and there's been a second. Okay, any questions? Anybody online have questions? You have a question, Brian?
My only question is that whatever the total amount of money is, we have a large grant that's paying about $85,000 of it. Then we have another grant.
The grant's actually paying $115,000. So 54% of the cost.
Okay, correct. Thank you.
Mhm.
And then we have another one that's going to be a tax credit.
Correct.
It's going to then lower it down.
Correct.
So there was a remainder of something like $12,000, and then we just found out today that there's another $5,000.
Correct.
So now we're down to about 7.
About eight-ish.
Okay, so that's really the figure that we're talking about today that has to be laid out. Is that correct?
Well, no, the $85,000 has to be laid out,
Okay.
but then we get that refunded.
But that 85,000 through
Or
the
98.
council is monies that we have in our account somewhere.
Yes. Charlie stated we have, what was it? 350,000 in unrestricted reserves.
Okay, I'm just coming down to the last number as we're going through.
Sure. Thank you, Brian. Okay, and were there any questions online, Charles? None? Okay, thank you. Okay, we're ready to call a vote. So all in favor of moving forward with solar energy or with Flywheel? Okay. Okay. Seems, well, I'll ask, any opposed? What about online? Okay. Well, it's unanimous in here, so.
And online.
And online, awesome. So the vote carries. Okay, now the second motion, again? Please, for the record.
Yes. And the second motion is to purchase or not.
Purchase or lease.
Yes,
Right.
purchase or lease.
You have to say, you have to move to purchase.
Yeah, move to,
So motion to move to purchase.
okay. Okay. Let's see, Kim moved and Chris seconded. Okay, any further questions or discussion? We'll wait for the online folks to type a few seconds. Nothing. Okay, great. Okay, we're ready to vote. All in favor to purchase through Flywheel? Oh, I forgot. Okay. Looks unanimous in here. Any opposed? Okay, one opposed. Any abstentions? Online?
Unanimous in favor of purchase online.
Okay. All right, thank you. Motion carries. Okay. That was it. Oh. Well, they voted to purchase, so that includes the, yeah, that would,
Well, that's it is optional. I mean, we could.
Microphone.
Yeah.
Just having a, okay, like I said, not
Okay.
a side conversation.
sorry.
In a very technical sense,
Yes,
you have just voted on what the meeting was called for.
correct.
It's a special meeting. It is automatically adjourned.
Okay. Well, we have one quick thing. We did vote to purchase, but the vote to pay the 10%? Or
It's 5%.
5% to fly away.
To lock in the 10%.
To lock in the 10%. So, do I have a motion on that? Okay. So motion and seconded to pay the upfront 5% of the 10, say that again?
$10,800 to
Okay.
preserve the $21,000 domestic content bonus.
Okay,
Which is money we would be spending that $10,800 anyway. That's not additional.
right, okay, yes. Sure. You want? Yes, the minutes. No, okay, the motion was to approve the $10,800 payment to preserve the bonus, the domestic content bonus of $21,000 by July 3rd. Yes. So that check will have to be in the mail. Okay. So any other questions or comments on that? All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Think we're good. The meeting's over. Meeting adjourned at 12:08. Thank you all.